Thank y'all. I'm just going to read two parts of the first chapter of The Life and Times of Persimmon Wilson. And there are a few things I need to tell you. Persimmon Wilson, Percy as he is called, is a formerly enslaved, educated black man, and I write this in first person. He's about to hang for the murder of his former master, which he committed while riding with the Comanche Indians. While enslaved, he kept his education a secret from the whites, and I'm telling you that so I don't have to go into how that all happened. In this reading, I'm going to be using an offensive word. I hope you all find it offensive. I only use it in the context of fiction, but I do believe that it's necessary in the context of fiction. I want to acknowledge that it's offensive. One other thing, unless you have the book in front of you, there are two words that are in quotation marks, and it's important that they're in quotation marks. So if I can remember, I'll be doing air quotes, which I never do. No, it's true. April 1st, 1875, Drunken Bride, Texas. I have been to hangings before, but never my own. Still, it should be some comfort to me that except for the noose around my neck and the drop that will take my life, I know exactly what to expect 2 days hence. I know there will be a crowd like there always is at a hanging. Picnics, baskets lined with checkered cloths, the smell of fried chicken, and the noise of children. There will be, like there always is, a preacher and a group of white women dressed in black, singing me to their God. I expect the day of my execution to be a beautiful day. It hasn't rained lately, but that could change. Some old Indian could show up, do a rain dance. The whole thing might be postponed. I doubt it, though. I've never seen a hanging rained out. It seems to me like the white god smiles on a hanging, just like he smiles on making money. There will be plenty of opportunity for making money on the day of my death. Merchants selling warmish lemonade by the dipperful from a barrel, food for those who didn't bring their own, slices of pie and cake for dessert, trinkets to commemorate my demise. There should be, I hope, at least one industrious young boy out in the crowd, hawking souvenirs, competing with the adults' business, selling miniature nooses with my name written across them. I saw those little nooses when I was just a boy, at the hanging of a man named One-Eyed Jim. Jim was a slave who killed his overseer in the middle of the night while the man slept. Jim used a shovel head in his bare hands, and rumor had it that he killed the very man who took his eye out. I was 9, maybe 10 years old the day Jim got hung, and a slave myself, owned then by a man named Roland Surley. I was brought along that day to help out Surley's lady friend, Miss Fanny Sims, with the picnic. I was there to carry the basket, spread the quilt, fetch things, and if she got too hot, whisk a big fan back and forth to cool her. I saw the white boys winding their way through the crowd, calling out, "Nooses! Get your souvenir nooses right here!" Roland Surley flagged them down and bought a little noose to give to Miss Fanny, but she thought it was maudlin and refused to accept it. So he flipped it to me. "Here, Percy, I reckon it's yours." A little noose with the name One-Eyed Jim written in lumpy ink letters across the rope, a memento of that day that I have kept all the rest of my life. It's dirty and grimy now, and the letters are faded away, but all the same, I keep it. I'm picturing those little nooses at my hanging, and the little white hands that ought to be making them. Maybe 2 boys working on it together, debating which of my names to use, then ending the argument by making some of each. I figure on at least a dozen with my slave name, Persimmon Wilson, and another dozen with a translation of my Comanche name, Twist Rope, Huipanata Tumu. Persimmon is the name my mama gave me, after the fruit she stole off a tree down in the woods while she was carrying me. And Wilson is the name of the man that last owned me. I don't want to call that man master here. but for the purpose of making this easier to read than its content might allow, I will. Master Joseph Wilson owned me down in Louisiana. Owned me as best he could, and I reckon I was owned as best I could be till the federal government and General Butler decided I couldn't be owned any longer. There's folks that'll be reading this after I'm dead who'll be looking for me to say, at the mention of Master Wilson's name, God rest his soul. So here you go. God rest his soul. He died by my hand, although I really shouldn't take all the credit. In spite of being a heathen, I do know something about etiquette. And because of that, I have to admit I had some help from my friends, the band of Comanche warriors I rode and raided with. Many of them are dead now, or else corralled onto a pitiful plot of land the white folks have not decided they want yet. Me, they say, for hanging. Which brings me back to those little nooses I hope some boy is peddling. As I said, a dozen with my white name, Persimmon Wilson, and another dozen with a translation of my Comanche name, Twist Rope, the Black Indian. That's what they call me when they're not calling me nigger. There is no shortage of irony in this world. White people calling me the Black Indian, and Indians calling me the Black White Man. Hell of it is, we had 5 or 6 white Indians riding with us, men who'd been captured young, raised in the tribe, turned to warriors like every Comanche boy is. Irony. Now there's a word I'm not supposed to know. You've probably already picked out a few words that trouble you for a black man to be using. Big old words, thought-heavy words, dangerous in the wrong head, and mine is the wrong head, isn't it? I know too much. All the more reason to put a noose around my neck. Never mind that my last request was paper and ink and to be left alone to write this. Never mind that my jailer Jack laughed at the idea of a nigger writing. It was a novelty to hand me paper and ink and see what I'd leave behind. It might be something to sell. It might be worth something later on. Or it might be something to burn. It shouldn't matter to me. If I learned anything at all from living with the Comanche, it is this. Words don't mean a thing unless they're true. So you do what you will. Burn my words if you want to. Set them loose into the air. Nothing would make me happier than all of you having to breathe this story, this truth of what I am about to tell you. Nothing can kill truth, not even white men. The day I was sold to Master Wilson in New Orleans, I was stood up against a wall with other slaves for sale, women on one side of the showroom and men on the other, all of us arranged by height. It was my 3rd day in the showroom, and each day was the same. White men coming along, taking my fingers in their hands and moving them back and forth, checking for nimbleness. They ran their hands up my legs, along my arms, across my chest and abdomen, looking for tumors, hernias, wounds, anything that would bring my price down or make them decide not to buy me. They pulled my lips back and looked at my teeth. I was told to strip, that they might check my back for the marks of the lash. I was told to dance a jig, that they might see for themselves that I was spry and able. I was 17, 18 maybe, I don't know. The grease the trader had smeared on my skin and polished in to make me gleam made me hot. My skin felt closed up, like my whole body was wrapped in tight leather on a sweltering day. All I could do was stand there, let the white men look and answer their questions. What's your age, boy? Can you drive a buggy? You ever had chicken pox, whooping cough, or measles? Where did you live before? You got a wife? Would you like to come home with me, boy? We'd been told what to say. Old men were told to say they were younger. There were skills we didn't have that we were meant to claim. Our health was good, always. Scars and missing fingers were explained away. The farther we came from, the less likely we were to run.